The Morgan Report with David Morgan.
David Morgan, themorganreport.com, with you with the weekly perspective for the week ending 3 July 2020. Well, halfway through the year already, and quite a year it has been. Well, let me start off with the stock market and say that it's still in, I consider, precarious situation. But I want to focus a little bit more on the commodity sector. We have crude oil has practically doubled since April. And the end of this last month, June, copper's been up about 21% to the highest level in 5 months. And we know gold continues to consolidate at a high level consolidation and looks like it's about ready to break out here. And so gold's actually been quite a bit of the story this year in the financial markets. Of interesting note as well is that the materials index, the materials spider, is above the 200-day moving average. And we might note also that the U.S. dollar index, the USD, is below both the 50-day and 200-day moving average and has been that way for a while. The dollar is not looking all that great on the dollar index. And finally, in the bond market, the king of all kings and the one that scares me the most is that the yields on the 10-year are dropping sharply the first half of this year. And of course, gold counteracts that. Even though it doesn't pay any interest, it pays a lot more interest than all the trillions of dollars in negative interest bonds. Something to bear in mind. So I'm here on the blog page, as you can see, and just a quick reminder, if you want our YouTube channel. So this is just the Morgan Report /blog, and everything that I do that's in the public domain, which is most of the stuff I do actually, outside of the Morgan Report itself, which is, the private part of the website, and the report, which in fact I'm finishing right now on Friday the 3rd. Anyway, coming up here to these icons, you've got the YouTube channel there. I won't play it because it starts off pretty loud, so I'll get rid of that. And then Twitter feeds right there. I do a lot on Twitter. Most of it's me. I do have a couple people that work with us. And we're doing something here with the digital silverback currency. Actually, it is now with gold as well. LinkedIn, Facebook, I really don't have much going there. So if you want to see something on the YouTube channel, look at the Twitter feed or whatever. This is an easy way to do it. I said all the posts are here, and I'll leave it at that, and let me get right into the news. So this week I'm going to be just reading some of the headlines, really, and I want to get into a little bit on the gold side, maybe a little bit on silver, because there's some important news that has come out that most of you are aware of. I just want to explore a little bit. So, number one, the war on cash. That continues. We are moving toward a cashless society. Boeing is pulling a plug on their 747 jumbo jets. The Gulf oil producers in Oman are running out of options. They're getting into a squeeze situation. Despite the new gigafactory in China, Tesla's global deliveries dropped by about 5%. $40 oil is not enough to prevent a wave of shale bankruptcies. And I don't know the right word, strangeness of the current situation is not just U.S. based. Of course, it's global. Just here's a few in that genre. 24 shot to death in attack on a drug rehab center in Mexico. U.S.-China relations are headed for the darkest chapter ever, according to Eurasia Group. China and India to move troops in batches from the disputed border area. Washington threatens military action against Iran after heated UN meeting. Europe portrays both America and Iran as rogue states at the United Nations. And regardless of your take, I think if you're objective, you will find that there's a lack of freedom of speech, and it's been that way. More and more. I'll just note that Jeff Berwick sent me an email, which I'm on his list, and we're friends, known him for years. And Stephen Molyneux, who's really well known in, I guess you could call it the alt space, deep thinker from Canada, listen to not a lot of him, but plenty of it, plenty of what he says, and he just disappeared off the internet. Moving on onto the theme of propaganda and censorship, Brazil's new fake news law on the internet. Users are guilty until proven innocent, and the authorities are constantly taking down all ISPs and, of course, hounding people that are producing, according to them, fake news. A New York Times deploys a heavy gun to back the intel on the Russian bounties. This is after examining the record, New York Times readers should be skeptical about anything that David Sanger writes, including the latest artful works of deception. Opinion, take it or leave it. Why the U.S. empire works so hard to control the international narrative about Russia. Again, this is the propagandists that don't want facts to get the real story out. Again, my opinion. And I'll leave it at that. I think that's enough as far as the major headlines this week that I want to pick out. I want to move on to a couple stories about gold. All right, this story came out earlier in the week, and this is between the CFTC, Commodities Futures Trading Commission, and Monex. And I'm not going to read the whole article to you, although it's not very long. But basically, this thing's been going on for a long time, according to this article from 2017. But I know for a fact it's been going on a lot longer than that. And basically what the article says is that the CFTC's action against Monex has been upheld. And the CFTC accuses the Newport Beach-based company of defrauding thousands of customers out of $290 million. If you're not familiar with Monex, you can look it up. But basically, they do basically a futures contract, but they're not members of the CME. You can leverage silver, gold too, as far as I remember, but most of their business is actually in silver. So there's a lot to this as far as not the article, but as far as how long this has been going on. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes from here. I just want to make you aware of it. I've been asked about my opinion on this place a few times over the ensuing years. So that's it. Just probably scrolling too fast. Sorry, not trying to make you dizzy, but something you should read. Quick read. We'll keep our eye on it for you. And this is the article that I really want to bring up. Of course, Zero Hedge, which I often quote, and 83 tons of fake gold bars. Gold market rocketed by massive China counterfeiting scandal. Now, before I go on, I've said, and I think I'm one of the few, and it doesn't make me right, wrong, or indifferent, but I have said, again, for a long time, that I think that the reason that China uses gold kilo bars as their standard rather than the 100-ounce or 400-ounce bars is because they were burned before by tungsten bar or bars. So I've been saying for a long time that I think the reason that China has gone to the kilo bar is because they found 100-ounce bars or 400-ounce bars that were titanium filled or copper filled or whatever. I'll go through this article here in a moment. But so what has been done is a lot of gold through China has been re-refined. It's a quote unquote refined bar that's a 100-ounce bar. And why would you refine it? Well, just to make it a smaller unit, a kilo bar, that's doubtful, especially when the standard is basically a 100-ounce bar. The answer that I have is because China has been burned in the past in this article, and that's true. You can find it if you do some searching, I'm sure. But this one's pretty much a new article. So over the years, they periodically reported an occasional gold bar discovered by a counterfeit in Manhattan's Diamond District, which instead of containing yellow precious metals was filled with gold-plated tungsten or some cases copper. The news would spark a brief wave of outrage, prompting physical gold holders to run to an ultrasound spot check of their inventory, at which point they would wave, and why not? Beware in gold as in every other market. And if someone is spending thousands to buy fake gold, well, that's Darwinism in action. So there is a fake bar for you to look at. Now, this is from Zero Hedge, not me, because I have a slightly different opinion I've just voiced. Yet one market which seems stubbornly immune from any counterfeiting was that of the physical gold in China. Maybe. which was odd considering that over the past decade, China has emerged as the world's biggest counterfeiter of various, mostly industrial metals used to secure bank loans, better known as ghost collateral, which added insult to injury, would frequently be rehypothecated, meaning several banks would have claims to the same fake asset. All that is about to change with the discovery of what may be one of the biggest gold counterfeiting scandals in recent history. And yes, not only does it involve China, but emerges from a city that has become synonymous with all that is scandalous, Wuhan. With the preamble in mind, we introduce readers to the Wuhan King Gold Jewelry Incorporated, a company which, as the name implies, was founded and operates out of Wuhan. In retrospect, it probably meant copper futures because it was a remarkable exposed and found that more than a dozen Chinese financial institutions, majorly trust companies or shadow banks, loaned 20 billion yuan over the past 5 years to Wuhan King Gold Jewelry with pure gold as collateral. So the story gets more interesting from here. It's been it's copper that's in the center with gold on the outside, and it's been a huge fraud. The fake gold came to light in February. News sent shockwaves throughout King Gold's creditors, and with the authorities investigating how it happened, King Gold chief denies that anything is wrong, of course. What could go wrong, right? In the case of King Gold, the company said it took out loans against gold to supplement its cash holdings, support business operations, and expand gold reserves, and on and on. I won't read the whole thing to you, but it's very, very much of a shakeup in the gold world, and I don't think it really negates what I said at the beginning. Just because this outfit has been gold plating copper doesn't mean that the banks or the holding companies that are really gold focused don't take whatever they get and re-refine it in Switzerland and send it back from 100-ounce bars back to kilo bars. Oh, so the game goes on. I'll end with this. The 83 tons of purportedly pure gold stored in creditors' coffers by King Gold as of June, backing the 16 billion yuan of loans, would be equivalent to 22% of China's annual gold production and 4.2% of the state's reserve as of 2019. In short, more than 4% of China's official gold reserves may be fake. And maybe it's more than that. We really don't know. So, on the individual investor level or even on the institutional level, I mean, most know how to deal with real gold and gold derivatives. Oh, maybe I'll just finish up. This is a very long article, but it's a very important article. So let me finish here. This is probably the best one. And as for what this means for the price of gold, well, King Gold is certainly not the only Chinese company engaged in such blatant fraud, and consequences are clear. Once Chinese creditors or insurance companies start testing the collateral that they have received in exchange for tens of billions in loans and discover to their amazement that instead of gold, they are the proud owners of tungsten or copper, they will have two choices: reveal the fraud, risking tremendous adverse consequences and or prison time, or quietly buy up all the gold needed to literally fill the void from years of gold counterfeiting. So obviously this is going to be watched carefully, and is it only fake gold in China? Hardly. Interesting times indeed. Getting the truth is something that's almost a rarity these days. I'll leave it there. For those U.S. based, I'll say happy 4th of July. For those everywhere else that listen to the Weekly Perspective, I wish you the very best. And remember, there is nothing more powerful than the truth. Speak it to power, speak it to your friends, speak it to your family, and certainly to thine own self be true. Interesting times. It's time to be your best, be kind, and try to understand others' anxiety. A lot of people out there are easily triggered, and there's lots of reasons for it. But as you already know, a lot of people don't have jobs. A lot of people are losing things. They're very worried about their future. And all those are valid. And when you have those kind of stresses on your person, they are, again, easily triggered. So if you're in a position to be more understanding of others, it's probably a good attitude to keep, at least if you can, because I think we're all being tested and stressed. I'll leave it there. I'll be back with you next week. Just a quick reminder, the new Morgan Report will be posted this weekend on the 4th of July, going over basically what the the WFE has said about how they want to socially engineer everybody out of the communist dictatorship that's pushing the agenda right now into a full-blown technocracy. That's where we're really going, people. And so I went through that in pretty good detail, and then I actually had some positive things at the end of that editorial. Went through all the company updates. That last speculation I showed last week actually gained another fairly strong amount percentage-wise. And I do think, as I stated last week, that has a lot of potential. So I've gone over my 15 minutes. I'm going to leave it there. Wish you the best, and I'll be back next week.